Russell Westbrook got in a heated exchange last night with a group of fans in Utah that was caught on video during the Thunder's win. Let's see what happened. All right, then after the game, Westbrook and one of the fans gave their sides of the story. Let's take a listen to that.
How it started was a young man and his wife in the stands told me to get down on my knees like he used to. And for me, that's just completely disrespectful to me. I think it's racial. I think it's just inappropriate in a sense of there's no protection for the players. I think there are a lot of great fans around the world that like to come to the game and enjoy the game. And there are people that come to the game and to say mean, disrespectful thing about me, my family, as for beating up his wife. I've never put my hand on a woman. I never will. Never been in any domestic violence before, never had before, but once he said the comment, his wife repeated it, the same thing to me as well. So that's kind of how that started. I know you guys only got the tail end of the video, but the start of the video is way more important and way more disrespectful than what you guys heard.
Russ is just F-bombing and carrying on, acting a fool down here, and everybody's getting on him. And he had, I guess, heat. I thought it was ice. I just told him, I'm like, just sit down and ice your knees, bro. And he turned to me and he's like, that's heat, that's heat. And I'm like, well, you're gonna need it. And then it turned into not safe for work.
So that's what provoked his response. There was no swear words. There was
I never said a swear word to him, and everybody in the vicinity will say it. And she never left her seat, never said a word, hands in her lap. Never said a single swear word to him.
Okay, we're joined by FS1 NBA analyst Chris BROUSSARD. Chris, should the NBA have a problem with Russ's reaction last night?
I think they should, but first let me address the fan.
Please.
I think the NBA and Jazz need to do an investigation, as they will, and if the fan said what Russ says he did, and investigate his tweets. He deleted a lot of tweets. There's one where he went at Russ, called him classless, used an expletive last year. And I saw a tweet. It's hard to tell what's real now, right?
I think the one you saw in October was real.
And I saw one where he used the N-word in regard to another person, not Russ, but just some random person who said something to him, and he used the N-word, called him, said, I'm gonna beat your, all this stuff. This was a tweet. Now, again, I don't know, what's real, what's fake, but that should be part of the investigation.
Okay.
The one I was talking about was Russell Westbrook needs to go back where he came from.
Right, that's another, And what's he talking about there? Africa or what,
Probably, yeah.
So if all this is true, then that fan should be banned for life from NBA games.
Yes.
If James Dolan can ban or kick out a fan for saying sell the team, if he can kick Charles Oakley out of the arena, then you can ban this guy for life. So that's number one. Now, regarding Russ, I get it, pride as a man, especially when the attack is racial. But you can't handle it that way. Because what if that comes to a logical conclusion where that fan gets up in Russ's face, runs over, okay, so you want to do this? And those two start fighting, because Russ wouldn't back down. Forget those two. What about innocent bystanders, little children, women, that could get hurt? It would become a melee. And so you can't have this type of reaction. Now, I'm not saying sit there and take it. I'm saying it's easy to say to team security, look, this guy is using racial epithets. He said this. Go tell the arena security, I want him out.
Agreed.
Okay. There's Usher standing right there. We should.
Fine. But if they don't do anything, then you timeout. Call a timeout. You're the team leader. Get your players over here. Look, we ain't playing right now. Yeah. We are not playing until this guy's removed. Okay. He'll be removed. It's just too much. And that message has to be, I get the pride. And Russ said, if I'm on the street and you say something to me like that, you're not gonna, I get it. You might risk an assault charge, But if somebody's man enough to come up to you and insult you, they can be man enough to take a punch and, you know, all that. But you can't do that you're in a professional environment. It's your workplace. And it's just too much that could go wrong. And like I said, the message has to be sent to Russ just because, like, Ron Artest, we all know the malice of the palace.
Yeah.
He had a beer thrown on him, which is as bad as what they said to Russ. That's obviously worse. If somebody,
I'm not sure about that.
But it's
go ahead.
bad.
I got
right?
it. I
If
got
somebody,
because Russ didn't go at the guy, he just stayed where he was at his seat, just pointing.
and I don't know how close the guy was. He in the front row?
Three rows. Three rows back.
Okay.
He, put it like this. He was close enough for Russ to hear him.
But you hope others would have heard it then, too.
And you know what? The problem that I have since the Malice in the Palace, they put in protocols for how the players should act. But the fans' protocol has stayed the same. Nothing has changed for the fans. They get to say whatever they want. They get to lash out how they want. But what has happened, Chris, is this social media. Because, see, if you're at home, I can tweet at Chris Broussard and say whatever I want to say to you. But, see, when you go to the arena, there's no more imaginary screen. That's live. You're there. I can't go into a Starbucks and tell my server, you know what? You know what? You know your mama is a you know what. Your dad is a you know what. They're gonna call the cops. Right. Because they call the cops on me wanting to use the bathroom. I know good and well they're going to call the cops on me if I start berating one of the servers.
Well, the other day, some guys, I forget where it was, at a fast food place, they went outside and started beating, you know, the workers started beating up the angry customer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so that's the thing. The problem that I got, you know, when Russ said about the female, I'm going to whip you.
Obviously.
He should have told her, man, look here, your wife going to call you to really catch one tonight. He gave too much detail. My wife was sitting there. She was sitting there, her hands in her lap, and she didn't say a word. That's an awful lot of detail. The thing is, for me, it's hard for me to believe that Russ would have even engaged her had she not said something. For Russ to react the way he did, Chris, that man ain't just say, hey, bruh, hey, bruh, hey, sit down and ice your knees. Really? And Russ gonna lose it like that because he said, bruh, sit down and ice your knees.
Yep.
For Russ to react the way he did, because we go back to last week, Russ, when that kid touched Russ, he turned around and he realized it was a kid. I'm not so sure had that been an adult, he would have got the same response that the kid got. Because as we mentioned earlier, Chris, there was a soccer match in, I think it was England, where a fan ran on the field and punched the guy.
Okay. Have we ever seen that in this country?
No.
Punch, nope.
No.
No fan challenging a player on the field.
No.
Never, ever. That was your scenario that you presented, right?
Right.
I've never
It's that
seen that happen in this country.
But you remember when that fan came on the field and Mike Curtis was playing, you remember old Baltimore Colts?
Do I?
I bet he didn't run back on it anymore. He tackled him. He dropped that helmet on it.
I got
but
that.
That's what
And I do believe Russ when he said in his post-game statement, I've never put my hands on a woman and never would.
Right.
So I don't believe he was going to do.
No.
But you still, obviously, you can't say that.
Right.
You know.
Agree.
There's one silver lining to this for Russell Westbrook. This is the one thing I love about him. He is the rare player who actually thrives on this. He welcomes it. He embraces it. Not that he isn't standing up for his family and his pride, his community, but he also loves engaging in this because he'll engage with anybody, anywhere, at any time. Usually, my rule of thumb is block it, ignore it, don't fuel it, because the more you respond to them, the louder they're going to get, and maybe the worse they're going to get. And you've been there. I've covered many playoff games in Utah. Fans with their borderline vicious insults. It's one of the worst places in the league. I don't want to condemn all the fans because they have a whole bunch of good fans, but it can get loud and it can get vicious with the insults, especially around the ring around.
And they're
the
closer
court.
to the court.
They are
than
closer, and I've sat courtside of a bunch of NBA Finals games there. How did Michael Jordan deal with it? He just didn't. He ignored it. I never saw him engage with one fan. I never saw him even look sideways at anybody. And you know there were some taunts thrown in his direction. I don't know how racial or racist they got, but he just took it out on the scoreboard. And I told you, I only bought one piece of memorabilia my whole life, and it's that baseline from the far baseline shot of him holding the pose at the free throw line. And why do I love it? Because you can see the faces of all the fans in the far end zone seats. They're horrified like this, like, because he did it to him again and he's holding the pose. Well, that's how he took it out on them. This, and to his credit, he didn't come apart over this. He wasn't distracted. This didn't get him off his game. That was the second quarter. He just got better and better. He was great in the fourth quarter.
Right.
He was the one who shot the dagger from it was like 30 feet straight on. It was the longest three he's made all year, just to hammer home and slam the door. This was maybe as impressive a win as the Oklahoma City Thunder have had all year. But now back to your issue with this. The N-word to me, and I'm obviously not in your community, but it's a fighting word. It's the most evil word in the English language.